go.
If only there was a tech here.
Hello and welcome to House Lights Go episode 2. On this show I talk to Barry Burns from the band Mogwai. Mogwai's new album, As the Love Continues, spectacularly reached number 1 in the UK album charts. Barry and I discussed the recording of the album and the frustration of not being able to take the new material out on the road. Barry joins us now via Squadcasts. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
How you doing?
Good. Discombobulated. My daughter was up in the night needing a pee, so I'm a bit tired.
No.
And I think the hay fever season has started early, so it's all good.
Oh, really?
Big problems in Scotland.
I was going to say, where are you at the moment? Obviously, you're in Scotland.
Yeah, we've kind of been stuck here since November. But it's I've got a flat here anyway, so it's actually pretty good to come down and work, whatever that means anymore.
Well, it's lovely to meet you and see your face rather than your avatar on Twitter.
Yeah, get rid of that. I had to get rid of the Twitter that last week. I've had enough. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just not good for your head, is it?
No, I find myself just scrolling through it. I deleted it and paused it and all sorts of things, but I find myself end up going back. I feel lonely otherwise.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, but it does. Yeah, you find you have a couple more hours left in the day. Well, I do anyway.
Yeah. I haven't, I've thought about it, but I haven't really missed it that much. So it's just a thing to do with your fingers, isn't it? Yeah. I guess it would be like smoking used to be, just something to do, nip out the room and distract yourself from what's going on. Congratulations on your number 1 album. Thanks very much. That was a surprise. It doesn't really feel, it's either not sunk in or it doesn't mean much. Do you know what I mean? Or I've got ADHD really just coursing through my veins. I don't know. It doesn't really feel any different. So I guess these things probably last for like 10 seconds and then you're like, all right, back to normal. So
I don't know. It seems. I think it's a big achievement, especially for a band like yourself on an independent. Is it your own label or it's?
It's our own label. Yeah, it's all done by ourselves. So 2 people in the office doing all that work. It's kind of amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. It must be annoying though, in a way, because you can't now go and tour it. You must have that sort of feeling of success, and then just going, now.
I know.
As you say, it seems to have lasted sort of 10 seconds because you're not on tour, you're not about to go on tour, and you can't just go out there and go, thanks very much, everyone.
I know.
Listen to it live.
It's the shortest album campaign ever. You know what I mean? Or at least it's delayed. So it's really weird because at this time we'd be getting ready we'd probably be away already somewhere doing stuff. So, but I think it was good that we did that like streaming thing a couple of weeks ago, so people could kind of fake see us play live, and I think they kind of appreciated it, and it was kind of fun to do.
Do you think the lockdown contributed to the album's success?
Yeah, it did, because we were supposed to record it in April last year, and then all this stuff happened and we weren't ready. I didn't think we were ready to go and record it, so we had a few more months to get everything done. And I think the hardest part of the songs is for me always trying to arrange it. Like the writing the bits and stuff is easier, but actually getting it into a shape of a song, that's the hard part, and it's often done in the studio at the last minute. But this time I could sit at the computer and really like flesh it out and try and get it working, so it did help. It definitely didn't hurt to have more time to do it. And I think I would suggest to the rest of the band that we have a longer time to write for the next album anyway, because it just, it contributed to it being a bit more successful, I think.
So it's a collaborative effort then, almost completely, when it comes to writing?
The writing thing's all separately. It's like, me and Stuart and Dominic will sit separately, and we don't really get together until maybe 2 weeks before the album to make sure all the parts are working properly. But it's very rarely collaborative, except for the soundtracks that we do, which are sort of done often on the hoof, or so we all have to sort of chip in. But it's all sort of solo and then a band.
Oh, so you'll make a demo then, will you?
Yeah.
On your own. And
yeah. That's the way. Napoleon style. You do this. Make sure that snare drum hits here. It's not really like that.
Does it change much from the demo then, do you reckon, once you've got the band going with it?
Some of them do. A lot of them, I mean, I can think of a few times where I've just written all the parts and then the band will come and sort of change it a little bit, but it's mostly done. But yeah, it's kind of, it depends on the song, because if it's one of those ones where it's just a couple of chords and it's just a sort of build up thing,
Yeah.
you know that there's no point in doing that on your own, because everyone's going to change their parts and it'll change in the studio. But yeah, it just depends on the song.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I could imagine that I would have thought that from sort of the sound of your band, it would be quite more collaborative than that. It would, because the songs do often have a build to them. But as you say, that is more of a collaborative when the songs are like that.
Yeah, it's kind of there's never any sort of formula to do anything like that though. Like sometimes Martin will just send me a drum beat and I can work from that. But it's good to mix it up how you do stuff. Otherwise, you get stuck in that same sort of rut.
Would you discuss it beforehand? Would you say sort of, this album, I think we're going to do something dark, or this album we're going to do something live, or I want to do loads more vocals on these ones, so write something that I can sing to, please?
No, there's a disgusting lack of discussion and discourse about what we're going to do with the album. There's never a real plan, and I don't know why. Because when I play with other people in bands, like other bands and stuff, there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of in-depth stuff about the slightest noise. Whereas with Mogwai, we don't really talk about it, and maybe that's why it works. Where you're sort of trusted to do your part in the band, and nobody tells you what to do, unless it's really bad.
So there's some ultimate veto if you go, no, that's
you
get not right.
You got a funny face looking at you. You know, that's
it. Did you release it when you meant to release it? Was that date always?
Yeah.
Penciled in?
Yeah, it was, because there's this whole be in the machine thing where if we release it that time of the year, then we get festival offers for later in the year, which that's gone now. But it was ready. It was ready to go, so we just put it out. You know.
Do you regret that in any way? Or do you, I mean, there must be this feeling of frustration to not tour it. Do you think, perhaps we should have waited? Perhaps we should have just done the live stream as an interim.
Maybe actually, I'm not sure. Because we'd already
There's no way of knowing, is there?
No, you can't know. I mean, we'd already released to keep people interested. There was like a live album last year, and then luckily we had that soundtrack for 000 as well. So there was things keeping, a bit of momentum going with the band.
Yeah.
But then straight away we've got the album, so it might have been sensible to do it a bit later, given that we knew there wasn't going to be many gigs this year. But there's talk of stuff happening in July and August now, which I'm kind of surprised about. But we'll see.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw that because it was Reading and Leeds, wasn't it? Sort of primarily as an announcement.
Yeah.
And I sort of looked at it and I thought, that sounds a bit weird. And then about 3 days later, I was thinking, I'm actually going to be working at that. I just can't see it happening. But then I don't see they've got any choice. You've got to announce it and you've got to confirm it and you've got to say it's going to be normal, haven't you? I mean, given the sort of government roadmap, that seems to be the only option, really.
Yeah, I mean, if we've learned anything, it's you can't make plans anymore. So so you can just say stuff and it might happen. You know what I mean? It's so like
maybe they're sort of banking on that. They're going, well, we've got to go ahead as planned, but
maybe the virus
could change.
Maybe the virus will just die. You know what I mean? Maybe it's had enough, and it'll just you just don't know.
Yes, it's worn out. It lasts a year. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, but the idea of having 50,000 people in a field. Well, a field's better than inside a tent or a venue, I suppose. But
it's getting them out of there. What they were talking about, it's like, how would you get everyone out all at once? Because people want to leave right after the last band finishes, and then you've got this. Yeah. Even if there was reduced capacity in these places to make it safer, they're all going to pile into the same train. They're all waiting in a line to get out, and it just logistically just doesn't seem safe. So I don't know.
No, and even the sort of the regular insanitary toilets on the site, you just think, they're not. Are they going to sort of change the way they clean those anyway? That's probably not a great topic of conversation.
I'm into it. I'm really into
it. So you recorded this album remotely?
Yeah.
To some extent, or at least with a producer. You were all in the same room, presumably, to record it.
Yeah. We had.
How did you find that?
We had thought about doing it. Like, I would stay in Berlin, and then the more we thought about it, we were like, this just isn't going to work. So I came over, quarantined for a while, did some rehearsals, and then I'm in the studio that we own just now, but the live room's not massive, so we can't. We like to do a lot of the songs live if we can. So we looked at a few places, and the place Veda in Worcestershire if that's how you say that, was the best option because it was residential. So we drove down, felt like a little holiday away from the virus. It was really quite good. The first like 7 days, everyone was wearing masks, and then we sort of stopped that, and it just became quite normal. The weirdest thing was having Dave Fridman on this Zoom call thing the whole time, and having to work a bit later than usual because of the time difference between here and New York. But actually, you adapt quite quickly to stuff like that, and he was actually more involved than we thought he would be. So could easily do that again. You know, I don't think it did any harm.
Because I spoke to Frank Turner a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He loved it. He said it was really focused. There wasn't too much time sort of messing around with gear and the perfect sounds. It was sort of very productive in terms of getting an album recorded.
Mm-hmm. Much more.
I don't know. He'd want to do it again, but
I don't know.
Where did it actually record then? Did it sort of go down an ISDN and record in New York or? Yeah.
I think it was this. They were using this thing. I think the name was Audio Movers or something like that. It was called some piece of software. So basically, Dave was just getting the feed right to his Neve desk. And just telling us what to do. And it didn't seem, I don't think there was any problems at all with it. It was pretty smooth. But imagine trying to do that like 5-10 years ago. I don't think it would have been as possible or as good, you know?
No, you'd have to sort of almost do it by post. You'd have to sort of wait overnight for all the info to come in and then put it together and then go, I didn't like the bass on that one. You have to.
Tough shit. It's going to cost $8,000 to fix
it. It is amazing. I can't imagine what this pandemic would be like without the communications. I mean, even touring now with FaceTime, and when I started, it's not that long ago, but we were still looking up, there were still yellow pages in production offices, and there was payphones and time set aside, and now everyone's just constantly in touch, isn't it?
That's funny how you say that.
Good, really.
I was speaking to Simon Smith, the tour manager, about this, and he'd done it before email was really a thing. He's a drummer for the Wedding Present. I think he used to tour manage them as well. And he was saying, actually, when you used to phone the venues and advance the shows, everything just seemed to work. But as soon as email came in and it was a constant conversation with like, oh, we don't have this, but we have this and blah, blah. He said it was actually harder to organise a gig because you had less time because you were dealing with this micromanaged sort of emails about the smallest thing rather than just turn up and do the show and everything works. So he said it actually got worse with the email.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
Because I suppose people keep to times better as well, don't they? I always think, because if you're going to be late, you just think, oh, I'm going to be 20 minutes late, sorry. Whereas before you just go, well, they might have left if I don't turn up on time. So what am I supposed to do? I'm just going to get there.
Yeah, it's such a safety net, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I guess it makes you lazy, perhaps. I don't know, but that's the way of the world now. So you just have to. That's what it is. I can't ever see an end to mobile phones.
No.
See, when you were writing and recording this album, you spoke about it a minute ago that you spent more time making it.
Yeah.
Did you find that you've got more material now? Have you got a bit of a backlog? Did you discard material? Say that's a B-side rather than that would have made the album previously or something like that? Yeah,
usually we've got a lot of songs, but for this one, because of that extra time, you could kind of, normally you're sort of panicking and being like, oh, I need to have like 20 songs to give to the band, but because you had all this extra time, you could see which ones weren't going to work much easier than you might have normally done. So it did. We actually only had like 2 or 3 extra songs for B-sides. One of them we recorded and just didn't feel like we did a good job of it, so we're going to re-record it or keep it for something else, because it's a nice tune, but it's just didn't work out. So no, not really for this one. It was pretty focused and not so flabby.
Okay, that's interesting. Because Frank Turner, going back to that, he ended up writing 20 songs for the album instead of 14, so he went completely
the opposite,
the other way. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Interesting to see what happened. Because I mean, now you've got this, you've made the album, you've got a live show put in now for November, and you said you'd be touring now, ideally, on the back of this record. What do you think that'll mean when you come to take it on tour? Do you think you'll be making another album sooner, or will you just sort of will this be a sort of designated gap, and then you'll start touring as if the album had just come out? If you see what I mean.
I think we'll do the latter. I think it's kind of, we did have a lot of discussions about this actually, because if we just go and do another record or even we might do a mini album or something and not really promote it, just put it out one day with no sort of, surprise. So, but to do another album to get it ready to tour next year or the year after, what if it's not as good? Do you know what I mean? What if you write an album that isn't as good, and you've got this nice thing that's just happened? People
Yeah.
will still want to see it live next year or at the end of this year, and if you go and fuck that up, you know what I mean? You're just like, what a mistake. So we did think about it because we want people to be able to still hear what we're doing, but it's a bit risky, we thought. So we're just
Yeah.
going to sit on it because they've not heard them live anyway, not really, you know.
No.
So makes sense.
How long would you normally your campaign be once you've released? Do you reckon?
It's usually 18 months, something like that. But we're in a weird position where we get a lot of soundtrack stuff as well. So it sort of interrupts the usual, write, record, tour thing because there's another whole bit of recording and writing in there. So it's always a bit different. It doesn't really follow a plan very easily with this band, which is good.
Yeah. What was the 000? So you mentioned it earlier. I'm afraid to say I don't know what that is.
It's a TV show that was on. I think over here it was on Sky, but it's basically Roberto Saviano is a writer and he writes about the mafia. He's currently, I think, in hiding because whatever he's.
Yeah,
that guy. And
the journalist. Yeah, or the most marked man in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, and that case is actually in the court just now, so it was quite serendipitous that this came out at the time. But basically, the guy who did the Gomorrah series, Stefano Salimi, he got in touch with us. We were playing a show in Mexico City and he came and saw us and asked us if we wanted to do the score for this sort of limited series, and we were just totally into it. It sounded really good, and it's actually, you've not seen it, have you?
No.
It's really good. Like, I've seen a couple of people that didn't really enjoy it because of the pace of it, and it's quite the chronological way that it goes is kind of weird, but it's a great story and it's based in truth. And we just we kind of didn't have that much time to do it, but what we've done we're really pleased with.
How does that work then? I know this is not necessarily on topic, but do you get a sort of a non, like a version of it with no music, or does it have some sort of direction to it?
We got quite a lot. Often we don't get much, but for this one, a lot of it had already been filmed. And then I think the actress in it, she broke her ankle, so there was a big gap. So we had loads of more time. We're really getting lucky with terrible things going wrong to give us more time to write music for. But she broke her ankle, and then there was more time. So we got a lot of images, and there was 3 directors, and they were all really kind of hands-on, and they really helped us make the music work for them. But again, it's all different. Sometimes we'll have absolutely nothing, and we've just got to sort of go, well, let's write some music that conveys this mood, or an action sequence or something. It's kind of quite prescriptive, but you just have to do it really quickly. I think that's the biggest problem, is how quick you need to do it, because they ask for huge changes at the last minute, and you're like, all right, how do we edit that? So,
you said presumably you don't score it. You do it as a band, you said, more collaboratively. So
a bit more.
You would talk about the content of the show, and then, as you say, sort of write a love scene piece of music or a sad piece of music that sort of fits in the overall style of the show.
Yeah, and you would you would give them a couple of them. We realised quite quickly the more stuff you give them, the more it confuses them. So we just strip it back to as little options as possible, and then try and convince them that it's good. So that kind of can work. But again, they're all just really, unique to each other in the way that they work.
Yeah. It's one of these things that I just have no idea. I mean, I do live music, and I sometimes work in a studio, but the idea of sort of setting music to as yet non-existent visual material seems virtually impossible.
It's smoke and mirrors. Do you know what? It's just writing more music. It's nothing really different from how we normally do it. It's just you have to it's in a way it's easier because you don't have to write long pieces. They're usually quite short cues, so you've got more. I don't know, it's easier to write a little catchy bit or something that doesn't have to be, fleshed out to 10 minutes like we normally do. Chance or luck.
Do you ever incorporate any of it into a live environment? I mean,
I think we played one or two of them.
Or something.
No, we did. We used to play one of the songs from the Zidane soundtrack. And then we did a couple of shows in Manchester and some other places where we actually just played along with the film. But they're not really, they don't really a lot of them just don't really fit into the live setting, and we're quite aware of that, you know. So we don't do it much.
Going back to this current album, and if you do your when you do the show in November, how will you sort of prepare converting the recorded material into the live material? I mean, do you record in the studio and put a lot of stuff that couldn't possibly be done live? You know, is there huge sort of string arrangements, or do you try and make it all work live?
I was speaking to our drummer the other day, and he's like, after the recording of the album's finished, he said you can just see you. He's talking about me. He's like, you can just see you just going into this like haze of, oh no, I have to make all this stuff work live. And he's like, you just look really depressed. And I was like, because I have to spend at least 3 weeks with a whiteboard on the wall and just like try and work out what can be played live and what has to be put onto the track, like the strings. And so, I mean, sometimes there's like 5 keyboard parts, but we've got another guy who plays with us live, and he can usually manage a lot of it as well. So as much as we can play live as possible, but if it's just like noises and samples and drum machines, there's no point. I think people digest that stuff easier. I don't think they feel like it's karaoke if you're doing as much as you can and it's obvious that you couldn't bring a 40-piece orchestra with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're quite forgiving about stuff like that. And it's also fun to look like a maniac trying to play all the parts when you're doing it live. So I think you should put yourself under as much pressure as possible to make it look like you're doing it live, you know?
Yeah. And would you just write a new part potentially? So say if it's a string part, might you just sort of take the line of it and play that, and so people can sort of hum along or nod along and know, oh yeah, that's that bit. Yeah,
we've changed the instrumentation and stuff like that before, but it's a pain in the arse. Stick it on the track, mate.
You play to a click presumably, and then there is some there's some assistance for creating the live.
Yeah.
I think it's some people are a bit sniffy about track, aren't they? But to me, it's essentially instrumentation. Well, yeah, but if you look at it, and the amount of time when I'm in this, you know, when preparing with a band for their live shows, it takes us longer than anything else.
I know.
So it's a skill in itself.
Yeah. I don't think people realise that every time I play a piano on my laptop, it's someone else that played it on a sample. I'm not fucking playing it anyway. It's already been recorded. And you go to a hip hop gig, and you know there's like it's all records that are getting played. It's all it's there's nothing wrong with different ways of making music work, especially live. You know, I don't think there's a bit. I think that some other people in the band have a bit of a problem with it, but I don't. I think it's fine as long as the show is good. And you're not just that horrible sort of Kraftwerk thing at a laptop that I was kind of sadly disgusted at when I saw them, because I'd like to have seen them playing some synths. But it's not that.
So we were just talking about the sort of preparing tracks live. Mm-hmm. Do you find that once you prepare them live, they still tend to move on once you've played them a few times at shows? Yeah,
I think that's quite frustrating actually, because sometimes the first time we'll play a song at the rehearsals, like a new song, that's the first time we've actually played it because we've changed it in the studio so much when we recorded it. So you have to learn your own song almost, you know. Yeah. So, but I would say that and then they go and change when you start to play them. It's like you wish you'd done that for the record. You know, you've changed little bits, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think the biggest thing that changes, because we play them quite straight most of the time, but when we go back to look at the old songs that we haven't played for a long time and we've kind of forgotten how to play them, you're actually writing new parts for them, which is kind of fun to do and probably makes the purists, he didn't play that in the album. You know, it's like, they get annoyed about it. But I think it's much more fun to change them a little bit when you play them live, because it is kind of boring going to see a band that just play the album like exactly as it is. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I go to a live show, I don't want to see a recreation of the record. I mean, I want to recognise and cheer for the songs that I know I like recorded. But if it's different, brilliant.
Yeah.
Although I did see Eric Clapton do an acoustic version of Layla, and I wasn't really sure that was the right way to go with that track.
Is there any need? Is there any need for that guy anymore?
Yeah, he is. That was in Hyde Park. It was him, Bob Dylan. It was a show that was named Day Out for the Dads, and I went to that. Oh, the Who as well. So it's not exactly a Hall of Fame of
Good guys.
People these days. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Gary Glitter was there.
Oh, for fuck's sake, that should have been the first thing you said.
Well, he made a guest appearance on Quadrophenia. He was one of the characters of Quadrophenia. He also broke Roger Daltrey's eye socket in rehearsals, I remember, as well.
What, with a fight?
No, it was he's swinging his microphone stand around.
Right, okay.
Because he was playing. Daltrey had an eye patch on with a target on it. Yeah. Your live show is quite the ones I've seen anyway. On the both in person and although I've only seen one, I did a festival with Metronomy years ago, and you were playing in a different room.
Yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Mm-hmm. But I remember your backline is impressive.
Was it?
There's lots of stuff. Certainly lots of cables.
Aye.
So
it's mostly cables.
Certainly compared to Metronomy's backline, which is very effective, but it's
a roadie's dream.
Pedals,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically on or off, and then there's not too many cables to trace back if something goes wrong with them. But you're quite you don't communicate with the crowd verbally. I'm contrasting this with the Frank Turner shows he did the previous episode. He's very verbal. So what do you think your live show, and I'm trying to think how to word this without meaning to sound rude, your live show is not that interactive for the crowd?
No, it's not.
So what do you think it offers beyond sort of a recorded version? I mean, obviously it does. I know it does. But
really, it must just be the volume of it, because I mean, see, as people in the band, we're all, I mean, I think we're pretty fun. Like, I have a lot of fun with the rest of them, and there's a lot of laughs going on. But as soon as you put a microphone in front of any of us, it's shit wedding joke material patter, like really panicky. You can see, oh, this is why they don't sing, and this is why they don't have much to say, because they're actually just petrified. And it's weird because I like it when bands have a bit of banter. Like Beak is one of my favourite bands, with Jeff Barrow.
Okay, who's drunk? Who's off their tits on pingers?
And they do all the in between songs stuff, and it's really funny, and it's like a proper, like, interactive, almost comedy, but with really great music. And I do wish we were good at it, but it's just really from a lack of experience at doing it. And I think when it gets to the point where you're known for not doing that, it would seem really weird. Like, it would seem really weird if I started doing mad, like, techno dancing when I'm playing the synthesizers. Yeah. Much as I would love that to be look cool, a 45-year-old guy doing it, it's not really good look, you know. So I think it would be nice to interact. But I think a lot of people maybe appreciate that we don't. It's just a show, and the lights and all that are kind of nice to look at, and the volume is definitely a big issue with it. I think it's an intense experience, and you all look like you're not enjoying ourselves.
To say, look like you're really into it. You're all very focused and you're all busy.
Yeah.
So perhaps sort of stopping and trying to get the crowd to clap along at certain points would sort of really lose its thread.
It's hard to get. Yeah, it would, and it's also hard to get bands that are good at it. Like that whole, like, you know, you see, we're going to split the crowd. It's so pantomime to me. But when people do it right, you know, I remember seeing Prince before I joined a band or anything. I saw Prince in Glasgow. And that was amazing. That's how you perform. You know, that's the difference between people like us and then the top tier of, like, you know, they're just like, they know what they're doing. They understand everything about live performance, and they manipulate it and make it into a good experience. And it's something that we've never really either wanted or been able to do. So leave it to the dead experts.
Yeah, I don't think either thing is more valid. You say it's part of the performance. I don't necessarily think it needs to be a part of a performance. Mm-hmm. I say your shows are captivating in themselves without any need to shout at us and tell us what to do, which I think is also great fun at times.
Yeah,
I think the lights I've seen on your shows look like quite a big part of your the live experience. Do you guys as a band have much input on that?
We like anything else, when it comes to other people being creative, we kind of leave them to do their own thing, and we'll give a bit of guidance, but we usually let the people do it themselves. It's always sad because it's always about the budget with lights, and we'd love to spend more money on it, because I've seen, I saw Fever Ray and I see Portishead doing the big light show, and you're just gobsmacked after it. And obviously the music's good as well, but like, when you see a big production like that, it can just be like it's something else, you know. And I wish we could afford to do it, but we'd end up breaking even on tours, and we want to make a little bit of money. The children must eat.
Yeah. I was watching a 2014 Glastonbury show. I thought the lights on that were excellent. I mean, there was some.
Yeah.
I think there's a fluorescent logo in the background.
Oh yeah.
Apart from that, it all seemed fairly sort of standard fittings as far as I can tell, but it really enhanced it. I thought.
Yeah, it can do. I mean, it really can do. That was a funny one because Phil, who designed that, was like, "Yeah, it'll pack down, and it goes to this size, and it'll go on the plane." We try and pack it down, and it's like 2 feet bigger than the plane can take. We're just like, "Well, that was a waste of money," even though it looks good.
Yeah, it did look good. I thought it worked. How conscious a decision is it when you pick a set list? Do you sort of rehearse it? Do you come at? You said you don't talk that much about it, but when you come to do a set list and a new live tour, will you rehearse the set list immediately, or do you just sort of go with it?
We never play the same set 2 nights in a row, mainly because we get bored of it, but also. Well, Stuart actually writes the set list every night because it's really boring doing it. But we'll probably rehearse like maybe 30 songs or something, and then sometimes if we get a chance, we can do some at sound check that we haven't done for a while, and then we'll play them that night or the night after. But yeah, it's not. When you tour with other bands and they play the same set every night, it must be really boring for them, because even when I like the band, it's kind of boring for me after 4 nights of the same exact set. So it's much more fun to mix it up. And I think we're quite careful to look what we played the last time we were in the same city and play all different songs, which probably pisses people off that only came the second time because they like the songs we played the first.
The last time. Yeah, but you must have. Is there one or two that are always on the team?
Yeah.
The team sheet? First ones you'd write down.
Yeah, with Mogwai for Satan's always a good one to have in the set. Sometimes it's good to start with that one. And there's another one. Well, the one with the vocoder, Hunted by a Freak. There's another one that we play because it's almost like a pop song with but with a vocoder in it. But yeah, it just depends, because you get really sick of playing them and you're just like, let's dump that and do something else. But yeah, it's all down to your own levels of tolerance, I guess.
Yeah, so you basically, as you say, rehearse a pool of songs and then pick from that 30, and then if there's time on the road, you'll I fancy playing that. Let's run it at sound check.
And the crew are like, nah, sound check's 2 hours late. Sorry, can't do it.
Yeah, everything's broken. Sorry, I can't find which pedal's playing up. Yeah. So you've got your show in November. Mm-hmm. Is that intended at the moment to be a completely normal post-COVID show?
Can you imagine?
Understand it?
I think so. It's going to be. There's some standing tickets available, I think, as well. So I think it's aiming to be as normal as possible. But I mean, I was speaking to you by email about this. It's going to be odd and kind of hopefully euphoric, more than it normally would be to both play and see a band again. It's just going to be maybe a bit like the Roaring Twenties again, you know, like when there was nothing in it. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, it was Reverend and the Makers. I heard on the radio say he was predicting a summer of love.
Yeah, could be.
So I didn't interview him. That was TalkSport.
I see. Right. Okay.
That's where I get all my music info from.
Of course.
But yeah, Frank Turner was a bit wary about it. He was thinking, you know, am I going to have to start communicating to the crowd? You know, don't all mosh all over each other if they don't look they're in the mood for it or what have you.
No spitting.
Not that anyone moshes these days. Oh, did you see that Slow Tie headline?
No.
It was something like Slow Tie agrees to stop spitting in fans' mouths due to COVID crisis.
Or due to human decency, it might have just fucking said. Fucking hell.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah.
That's great.
At least it's, you know, yeah. But I don't suppose that's really a Mogwai issue necessarily.
No, we've never spat.
Directly into anyone's mouth.
Directly, no.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but anyway. I don't know what it'd be like. I I mean, the tour bus thing seems slightly weird to me. Actually, imagine those sort of shared touch handles and all sorts of things, shared space,
Yeah.
You're all crammed in. But I suppose at least you know each other. Although I do think the stuff I meant to go and do next, I don't know anybody on it.
Really?
So
yeah, that must be quite a weird thing, being a crew that goes through a few bands and stuff. It must be quite difficult because it's quite a tight thing for us. We always tour with our crew, and we're always surprised when they try and split us up into other rooms and stuff, because we've never done that. We've always just been together because it's much more fun. But yeah, so we've always had, like, there's not a big crew anyway, and there's not a lot in the band, so we always get on one bus usually. But it is going to be kind of strange to be doing the thing that you've been told not to do for the last year and a half, like sleep really close to people and breathe their air.
Antibacterial curtains.
Oh man, imagine the amount of bacteria on a tour bus anyway. It's kind of minging.
Yeah, well, everyone gets sick, don't they?
Yeah.
That's always the first thing on tour. There'll be the rotating cold. So yeah, I've got coronavirus. So I'll go on the coronavirus.
You
bus
go on the
for
junk
next leg of the tour. Yeah, that's kind of awkward. But I don't know what the fans will be like, and I think lots of them will be very excited.
Yeah,
I assume that Mogwai, like all bands, have a sort of travelling set of mega fans who come to loads of shows. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what they're going to think of it, because they're presumably the guys that are down the front every time.
Pedal zombies.
Will they want to be down the front next? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But will the excitement overcome them? Will they be worrying about it on the train and then just walk into the venue and it'll all just come flooding back?
I think it'll just be, mental. I can't see it going any other way. But people are being so conditioned these days to be careful now. It might be that they're really careful and quite reserved about it. But when you bring alcohol to that party, you know what I mean? That's just when it all goes tits up. So
yeah, I mean, it's amazing how uncomfortable that sort of thing would looks on TV for seen in a club or something. You just think, ugh,
I know.
gross.
Don't you do that as well? Like when I just watch old television programs and they're all in the pub, I'm like, oh, fuck. Christ.
Or even like shaking hands or hugging each other. But I'm sure it'll come back, because I suppose people will immediately want to hug their friends and parents when it's safe to do it. So maybe it'll just it's just all an extension of that, isn't it?
We just have to hope this vaccine rollout is going to work for all the strains, because it looks all right, but there's a lot of doubt. I hope they all work.
It doesn't feel like it would take much to sort of upset the progress.
No, I know.
It can but hope.
Yep.
So I think we've sort of covered. Do you have any plans to go back on tour properly at the moment, or is that still all on hold? When I say properly, an extended run around Europe.
Yeah. There's something penciled in for next April, I think. I probably can't say what it is, but it's like, so yeah, you too. Yeah. So so that's looking like it might happen, depending on if certain countries pull their socks up quick enough so we can go there. Because you're really depending on the proficiency of every government in every country that you go to now and how they've dealt with it. So you can't really, and even we were talking about going to Australia, even within the states of Australia or whatever they're called, it can change so that you can get there, play a gig in Melbourne, and then not be able to go to Sydney, and you've just wasted all that money getting your crew over and all the stuff. Yeah. So it's really too risky, I think, to be doing it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you can't. There's no way of accommodating for 2 weeks of quarantine and touring. It would just be insane. I mean, if you went to Australia, perhaps if you're going to play, I don't know, a dozen shows over there, which isn't that easy.
Yeah,
you could maybe justify doing 5 or 10 days, or 5 or a week of quarantine. Yeah, not nothing beyond that. It would be insane
because of the crew.
And really miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can't pay all these people all that money unless you ended up getting local people to do it who don't know your stuff, and it's just it's not worth that. It's not worth it.
No, I don't think it'll ever happen.
Likewise,
if there's a quarantine in place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say that. I suppose there might be some Mega Bucks festival who wants a Mega Bucks band to come over, and they go, well, sorry guys, you're gonna have to sit in a hotel for 2 weeks, so we can do this one, so we can do this one show and coin it all in.
Everything's got a price.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I don't see it happening.
No.
Well, I think we covered quite a lot quite quickly. It's been pretty nice. I was going to ask you about some influences on your live performances from other bands, things you've seen that you thought were amazing and thought, oh, I want to do that.
One springs to mind straight away, which is Kian from the Super Furry Animals. He's actually younger than me, but I always looked up to him. He's got his like keyboards looking at the drums and all that. And I was like, I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to put my keyboards looking at the drums. Like he used to do this thing at the end of the set for one of their songs, and he just live sort of make a sort of techno song out of all the samples and stuff, and I just always wanted to have that level of proficiency to do stuff like that wasn't boring, you know. Never get a chance to do it anyway, but it's like I always wanted to have all this gear to do that stuff, and you know, what comes out is not what it's not anywhere as good as what he was doing, so I sort of gave up. But it was a great, like, this is what I want to do, you know. When I watched him play, he was great.
So how did that work then? I haven't seen that. Did he just have a little sort of solo section?
I don't. He just it was at the end of one of their songs. They used to do that song. Oh, I can't remember, but he had like a bunch of little hardware synths, and he was a total MIDI geek guy as well. And he would just know. I think it was like a drum loop going, and he would just do this insane techno sample thing at the end. And I was like, said to the sound engineer, because Michael Brennan, who I know used to work with us as well, and I was like, is that live? He's like, yeah, he's doing it all like off the cuff kind of thing. And I was like, I need to try and learn how to do that, and failed.
That's impressive. I've seen a band do that, and actually it wasn't impressive. The music was all right, but visually for me as a non keyboard guy, or a non music tech guy, really, when I like guitars and drums and basses, and that's about as far as I understand.
Yeah,
but they came on and sort of started running this, presumably a series of loops through a synth, and I was just going, well, just as well just hit the space bar. And as far as I'm concerned, I was aware that there was something skillful being done, but
you didn't give a fuck about it.
No, it just didn't work for me at all. So
funny.
So
it can work. It can. I don't think it particularly. They had great lights as well, which helped with it, which were all sort of synced up with the MIDI notes that he was playing, I think. So there was a lot going on, and it was all syncing up, and it just worked really well.
That's cool. And the last question on my list is which is your favourite song to play live? You may have mentioned it with the two you mentioned earlier.
I think it changes, but I'd say at the moment it would be How to Be a Werewolf. Which is the one that we've gone back to after not playing it for a long time, and it's got this really amazing rolling Juno thing that by accident I worked out how to do this really weird noise out of it, which I can't get any of the soft synths to do. And then it's all like me playing as if it's a sequence, so it's really the potential for making a howling mistake is really high, which kind of keeps me on my toes and it makes me like want to play it. So yeah, How to Be a Werewolf. God knows what album that's on. My memory for that stuff is very, very bad.
And I guess following on, which one are you most looking forward to playing live from the new stuff?
The new stuff? Probably the one Midnight Flit, which is the one that's just a 3-chord whatever thing with that's the one the guy from Atticus Ross from Nine Inch Nails did the string arrangement for, and it's on the track, but it's a lot of fun to play it live, and it just sounds really big. I'm looking forward to doing that one. I think people like it as well, so it'll be like maybe get those little bits, what do you call them? The hairs, these things on the back of your neck.
Hairs.
These things, fingers,
gills.
Kevin Costner gills. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think I'd be looking forward to Ceiling Granny. I like.
Oh yeah, that's proper Pumpkins jam. That one, isn't it? Yeah, that's good fun to play live as well.
When you did your live stream I thought it wasn't live, was it? I
No,
remember this morning you
no.
you redid a few things. So that's an interesting way of doing it. I hadn't really thought of
Well,
that.
we wanted to do it live, and we were told basically it is a live gig. There's nothing on there that was overdubbed. I think there might be some fixing of vocals, like just with at the time with the autotune that Stuart used, but the actual gig was live, and we did it in November because we've been told don't do what Rides did, and they tried to do it live, and the stream failed, and they had to give everyone their money back. And after all that production money and the rehearsals, you're just like So we were like, let's not do it live because you're really depending on technology being perfect, and it just isn't. So we just did it, and a bit of post production on it, but not much at all, really.
So you did retakes and things.
One of the songs I just couldn't remember. I was doing a vocoder thing, and I find it really difficult to play and shout basically at the same time. And we had to do it 10 times. And I just remember Dominic going, "We're never fucking playing this song again."
So how long did it take then? Was it an all day event?
A whole day.
And you had
really long.
any sort of PA in there? Or was it just all monitors?
No, and that was the worst thing about it, because I've got this microphone for the vocoder, and I never want people to hear what I'm saying because it's literally gibberish. It's just trying to work the vocoder to make it sound nice. But I knew it came in early at the start of the song, and I knew everyone would hear it because there's no drums, there's no guitar, and everything else was keyboards, and that wasn't coming out of anything. So I was like, they're going to hear what I'm fucking saying. So I had to get a little newspaper and just read out what was going on in the newspaper, because otherwise they would have been like, you need to check yourself in.
And will you release that again, do you think?
I hope so. It seems a bit of a waste not to put it somewhere, or do another one at some point if it really gets out of hand again. But I think it would be good to make it available. So I'm sure that will happen at some point. Maybe with a download with it. If you buy something, you get that for free or something,
Yeah. Is there any other sort of element that you've adapted to in COVID that would make something that you'd like to stick to? I mean, you said earlier that you would possibly give yourself more time. Sorry. I'll start again. You'd give yourself more time to record the next album, or write and record the next album.
I'm going to suggest that we do that because it really helped. As I was saying with the arrangement thing, which I'm bad at. So a bit more time to do it. And the problem is you're always trying to rush to the deadline that you've said you're going to release the album, because all the boring stuff like the money and the tours have to get arranged around that. So it really is subject to that kind of thing. But that, and probably just I'd like to do another soundtrack, because it really keeps us going, and it sort of changes the way that you write music, and it expands your experience and your skills. So to be able to get another soundtrack once the TV and film industry takes off a bit more again would be nice. But again, that's nothing I can control. That would just be getting it and getting to work on it, Is
that entirely, I don't know if organic's the right word. It always feels a pretentious word to say, apart from talking about farming. But people just come to you for the soundtracks. You don't you don't produce material speculatively at all?
No, we're going to do a show reel because we've got so much of it now. But it's always like, oh, the director loves your music. Guess what? The guy back in the film can't stand you and has never heard you. But now that we've had this number one thing in the UK, that might be all right. Okay, we'll give it a listen. So we might get more off the back of that. But it's often just like it falls over at the last hurdle. Sometimes the first, or we don't like the film or whatever. But it's not really. There's no one going out and looking for that stuff. Really, like they try, and we've only had maybe one from that. But it's usually just someone who likes your music. It's lucky.
Yeah, I like The Returned. My wife and I watched that. We thought that was...
It's a good show, isn't it?
Cool. Well, we've covered everything rather nicely.
Good.
So thank you for
welcome.
coming on.
Yeah.
It's been very enjoyable. I say it's nice to speak in person rather than by obscure, anonymous tweets.
I know. I crave conversations with people at the moment anyway. So this is nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. You don't. Yeah, and actually, sometimes it feels quite natural on the Squadcast or Zoom.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't. I don't know whatever changes. I don't know if it's maybe a delay in the line or something. But this conversation I felt has been quite spontaneous without each other waiting for.
No, totally. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'll stop recording then.
All right. You're welcome.